Hello, welcome to the online classes with the ETB. My name is Martina and I'm a Floristry tutor. So I hope you're all keeping safe and enjoying the lovely weather. Today I'm going to make a parallel arrangement. Parallel arrangement is all about lines and angles, both vertical and horizontal. Space is quite important, and groupings, balance of colour. Now I'll explain as I go along. So we start off with a full block of oasis, and the tape is going lengthways across the block of oasis. So there's kind of a back and a front to this. So I'm going to work facing you. I'll turn it around every so often, just to give you an idea. So starting off, foliage is quite important in a parallel arrangement because you make nice groupings of foliage. So we start off with foliage, and that will give us the layout of our arrangement. Now these I have, these are just dried rushes, and I like them because they're nice and straight, and you can put them in bundles, and they give the nice straight lines that I'm looking for in this arrangement. So I'm going to just bundle them together, trim them at an angle, just put them in. So I'm going to put a bunch of these in at the very back. So you have loads of space in front then to fill up. And so the start up high, everything will come down like steps of stairs. It's one of my favourite arrangements to do because I think it shows off the flowers very nicely. If you were doing your level 5 in Floristry, this would be considered a contemporary arrangement or modern arrangement. It would be suitable probably in a modern building, office block. Just get some more of those. These are handy because you can pick them. Well, they're kind of around all year. If there's marshy ground near you, there'll always be rushes on it, and they dry out easily. The same thing that's used to make some British gross. Now with the contemporary arrangement, it's all about balance. So I've one cluster here, the back. So I'm going to make another cluster of those to balance it out. So I'm going to do a shorter one towards the front. It's almost like a little fence. Trim those off. Give this a haircut as well. Trim it across the top there. These are falling out. Come back in. Do a few more. Haircut. I'm going to do a third little cluster just coming straight out the front. Okay, I'm just going to tilt that up for you so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, right. Now I've lots of different types of foliage. This is from a shrub in my garden. I can't remember the name of it, but it does look like a type of heather. So we go with that. But I like this one because it's nice. It's nice texture in it, and it's a nice color green. So because the parallel is all about groupings and textures, I'm going to group some of this foliage together. I'm going to make a little fence of it in front of the rushes, not too high. I'm going to bring some of it outside as well. The one thing to remember about the parallel arrangement is it's straight lines, vertical and horizontal. So it's quite architectural really in ways. Okay, so just building up the foliage. Got some privet, fairly common foliage. I'm going to trim off some of the bottom leaves and just make a fill in the back with that. So keeping it fairly tall. There's nice coverage on that. So but there is a gap between that and the rushes and funds, so I will be putting flowers in at the back in front of the privet and the rushes. Now there's a few little bits of that. I'm just going to make a little cluster here at the front. A bit of privet. This tall bit there at the back. Again, put a bit more in the cluster in the front. I'm not going to fill up all the space with foliage because, like any arrangement, you have to leave room to put in your flowers. I'm going to bring a bit of privet out the side. Straight lines. I'll do another little bunch over here. Okay, so as you can see now, I'm building up my outline, different clusters of foliage. Red robin. This is a great foliage because it lasts really well and it's quite plentiful. It's got a nice kind of russet colour as well, which again adds a bit of interest and contrast as well to the light green foliage that I used previously. So, making a cluster of that there at the side. So nice. To go around the front, have a look. I'm just going to turn it around for a minute just so that I can get an idea of where I'm going to put the red one. put a little bit out the side. Like the red robin, the thing with it though is the leaves are quite big. So particularly in an arrangement like this, you have to be careful because you don't want the leaves to take over from your flowers. I'm not finding two lovely russet leaves there. I'm going to put them at the front. Okay. Now, these I'm taking off the leaves individually. I'm going to put some in because they've a lovely shape, they've a lovely colour, and they're going to add a nice contrast as well because they're smooth and shiny and they contrast some of the other more textured foliage. Now, when you're putting the leaves individually, this is actually a good time where you might need some wire. So I'm going to use the real wire that we talked about before because it's flexible and it's very versatile. Okay, so loop with the wire, that's the stem of the leaf, and you're just wrapping it around. So you're just giving the leaf a longer leg so it'll go in better into the oasis. Okay, that looks quite nice. I'm going to add another leaf, so I'm going to wire it. Same as I did the last one. And that broke, so we'll do another one. And when you're wiring anything like this, it's important that a piece of the actual leaf goes into the oasis because otherwise it can't drink. So the wire is there, the leaf starts there, so you'll have to push it in at least until a piece of the leaf is down into the oasis because otherwise the leaf will just die. It's not going to be taking in any water. Okay, I'm going to put a couple of more of those leaves in now because I like the way they are showing up. I'm just going to put one there at the side. All right, I'll turn it around again. So you can see there I put the leaves, 3 leaves there in the front wired. Now it still looks quite gappy, but I've plenty of flowers to put in. But that's enough foliage for the moment because my outline is there. Right, so I have gerbers, roses, and quite a few nice flowers. I'm going to start with my 2 roses. I've only got 2 roses. They're a nice cerise pink, you can see there. And I've got 3 gerbers. So I'm going to balance the roses with the gerbers because the colour. So we're going to have a colour balance here. So I'm going to use 2, 2 and 1 because I have 3 the gerbers. Now the gerbers and the roses, when you're putting them in oasis, it's important to wire them because their heads droop and they look like they're dead and they're not. I'm taking off the lower leaves. Now the roses I want quite tall. I want them sort of the height of the rushes. So I'm just going to measure them against the rushes. And I'm cutting them at an angle so they go in better into the oasis. I'm going to use my wire to wire them up. This is the wire on a reel. It's the plain black wire, and it's roughly about 0.38 gauge wire. So you wrap the wire around the stem like that. I'll show you what I did with this one. So I'm going into the base of the head, just about that much, roughly half centimetre, and it's going into the bulbous bit there in the rose. So you just push it in a tiny bit and then twirl the wire down the stem. It doesn't have to go right down to the bottom, just enough to keep the head of the rose upright. So these are going to go in front of the rushes, but behind the kind of light green. Yeah, as you can see, sometimes flowers like to do their own thing. Sometimes they don't always go the way you want them to go. So you want them. Now, so you're leaving those at the same level, okay? Because you want a nice line of colour going across. Now, next I'm going to use some of the gerbers. So these gerbers, I'm going to put just the same height, smaller rushes, 2 of them. I'm going to wire them as well. Same reason as I wired the roses, because they tend to, the heads tend to droop. The same thing, you're going into the base of the flower there, where the head meets the stem, tiny bit, about half a centimetre, and then twist the wire down the stem. And this wire is light enough it can be cut with a scissors, so it's another reason why it's good to use. Okay. So I'm going to trim those off. Now the stems of the gerbers are nice and straight as well, so they can be used to create an angle somewhere in your arrangement. So they're going in beside each other as well, just in front of the lower cluster of bushes. Okay. And then the final gerber for the balance is going to go over here. Just put a bit of wire on that. And that's quite short. So that's going in, coming straight out just above the third bunch of rushes. So I'll just tilt that so you can see it up there. So you can see the way it's been built up, the layers and the lower layer. I'm just going to angle that computer a little bit different so you might be able to see better than what I'm doing. Okay. Right. Now the stems that I cut off from the gerbers, I'm going to use those to make a little fence. So let's make a little fence over here. I'm going to bring some out straight out the front as well. So it's nice to get as many textures as you can to a parallel arrangement, but it's important to repeat the textures. So if you do something once, you must do it twice or 3 times, because if you don't, then you mess up the balance. And a parallel arrangement is all about balance. Okay. What else have I got here? I have some lovely green chrysanthemums. These are button croissants, or sometimes called Santini green croissants, and I love them for the colour and the texture. They're very solid texture. They're lovely. So we're going to cluster some of those. So there's lots of pieces on them, so I'm cutting them off individually. I'm going to make a line going across just below the pink gerbils. I like these arrangements because it reminds me of a garden. The flowers look like they're still growing. I'm going to make another little cluster here beside the gerbil we put in. And this one here. Now I have more of those, but I'm going to keep some for later as well, because I might decide to put some up high. Yeah, I've got some blue stanzas here. I don't have an awful lot of that, so I want to be careful of where I'm going to put that. I think I'll put a bit up there in front of the roses, be a nice contrast. Maybe some down there. So again, this is sort of a bit wayward, so I'll have to get it to sit where I want it to sit. Okay. Okay, so we have a little cluster with this, and then we have this. Now, let's see. A nice little bit of heather with a bit of yellow on it. I think it would be nice there in the middle. It just needs something in there at the back. There. Yeah, I've got some nice spray carnations. They're a nice shade of pink. They match in with the roses and the gerber, slightly lighter pink. I'm going to turn it around a bit just to have a look and see where we're going to put them. Okay, so I'm going to put a line at the back, and I'm going to put a line in front of the roses. you're making your lines of flowers, you try and get the flowers as straight as possible, because that will give you the straight angles that you're looking for. And luckily these carnations are nice and tall and straight. Should be easy enough. You want to try and get them roughly the same height, so they're going to make an impact. See, I'm building it up there. Nice. Yes, we have a nice solid cluster of carnations there, and we'll make another one then, just slightly below that, in front of the roses, just below the blue status. And I'm going to bring a few out the side then as well. I've got some nice little buds, so I'm going to bring them out the side too. And we'll bring some out that side then, just to balance it off, because the pink is quite a strong colour. You'll notice non-balance quite easy. There's lots of buds there, so I'm going to put all of those in, because they're nice and light and they're not going to take from the balance, but they'll create a bit of texture and a bit of interest at the side. Okay, that's how we're going. We're building it up now. Now there is a few gaps, so now I want to look at other things to fill it in with. That's just the head of the dried seedling that just dried in the garden, and that's the thing about the parallels. You get to use all kinds of stuff because you're trying to create texture. So dried things actually, when they're clustered together, they make a nice, interesting texture. A few more bits of that there. Another great thing for these type of arrangements is moss. Moss creates a lovely texture. There's not a huge amount available at the moment, and I can't go and get it anyway, because like everybody else, I can't travel beyond 5k. Put another little bit there. Okay, now I want to look at my green chrysanthemum. Where could I put some more of that? Because I really like this. I think I'll put some more in the front. I'm going to cut my finger. I'm going to put a little bit at the back. Now that worked out quite well because there's 3 pieces there almost in a straight line, so that's a perfect piece for at the back. Just behind the gerbils and in front of the carnations. And it just breaks up the pink there as well. And the other ones then I'm going to continue this line actually across. Okay. Right, the last flower I have left to put in is pink chrysanthemum. There's so many different types of chrysanthemums. They're like a double chrysanthemum, and it's a nice pale pink. So that'll be a nice contrast to what we've in. So I'm going to just turn it around slightly. So this is really just a filler. So I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to go straight across the front with that, just below where I put the green ones, and it gives a nice pop of colour because it contrasts well with the green. That back in, you finish. And with the parallel arrangement too, every flower has its space. So although it is tightly packed, every flower has its space because it's all lines and angles, and every flower can be seen. Trim off, put back in again. And the thing to avoid actually with any arrangement, particularly a parallel arrangement, is to avoid putting flowers in and pulling them out, putting them in and pulling them out, because therefore you make holes in the oasis and then it will just fall apart. So try and decide where you're going to put something before you put it in. Now that is actually, there's enough flowers in that now. The rest of it I'm going to just fill in with a little bit of foliage. So you can see like it's straight and across, everything is in straight lines and angles. Just tilt it forward there, you can get a better look. Doesn't need an awful lot of filling, just at the sides there's a little few gaps of oasis. So this is just part of a tree. I like the leaves, again it's a nice contrast. Different style of leaf, so I'm just going to put a few of those there at the side. Again. Yeah, just use the gap down there. Put a bit the other side as well, just to balance it. All right, I think that's full enough. One of the things about any flower arrangement as well is knowing when to stop, because you can overdo it. So there we go. That's a parallel arrangement, and just hold it up there. So you can see we have our different levels. We've our level of roses, gerbera, our lowest gerbera. So we've kind of steps of colour coming down. And then we have our green, clusters of our green. We have a line going across and we have the lower one. So that's a parallel arrangement. So if you remember, lines and angles coming down vertical. It seems like you're breaking the rules, but as I said before, when you know the rules, then you know how to break them. Because this is all about balance of colour, balance of textures and groupings. And we grouped all our foliage, so then you have nice little clusters of red robin, another one here. You have your heather. So clusters, texture, lines and angles, that's what you remember about a parallel arrangement. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy having a go with that. Bye bye.